Hello and welcome. We are here in lesson number 2, and we're going to talk about something that's really important in this particular learning block. We're going to talk about the barriers and challenges around data. One of the things that we really want to emphasize, and I want to get into this right here early on in the course, is that when we deal with things in the real world, there are real barriers and real challenges for us to face. One of the biggest of things around data is that data does not have a great reputation in education. And that is, unfortunately, for good reason. And one of the biggest things that places a burden on all of us working with data in Head Start is we want to make sure that we don't do the things that have happened in K-12 that have given data its deserved negative reputation. We don't want to have to create a system in which we're going to have everybody unlearn things down the line. We want data to be an accessible tool that everyone can use to benefit children and families. When we think about how educators use data, data is everywhere. Data collection is universal. Almost everything you do generates data. And people are going to analyze data for lots of different reasons. This is just part of our lives today. It's going to be part of our lives going forward into the future. It's important for us to always remember that when we talk about data collection, it's happening all the time. And how it gets used in different contexts can be very, very important for the ethical and moral implications of how data is used. But it can also change the perceptions around data use. Data, by its nature, can be confusing. PhD data scientists love jargon. I know, I'm one of them. And yes, I love my jargon. But that jargon doesn't necessarily work really well for most of what's going on in the world. The kind of precision you need in the ivory tower to determine one concept that's a little bit different from another concept matters a lot when you're writing computer code and when you're building algorithms, but it doesn't matter for the kinds of concepts that people actually are using in practice in the real world most of the time. But data people like seeming mysterious. It's fun being the wizard in the cave and going, wonderful data stuff is coming. It's cool. I don't know. It's fun. I like the power of being Merlin from time to time, or Harry Potter from time to time, to use a more modern reference. But data is actually just a tool. It doesn't have to be mysterious that way. We make it more mysterious than it needs to be because it's cool to do that. Now, the high-end math for a lot of really advanced data work is genuinely challenging. But for most of what we're talking about in the Head Start world, none of these things are really necessary. You don't need any of these higher order tools in order to use it. But when we combine the fact that a lot of people talk about data in these jargony, wizardy ways with the fact that in K-12, data was used mainly as a hammer, it can bring in negative ideas about data, really powerful negative feelings. Data in K-12, there's an enormous amount of data that's out there. But the thing that it's most famous for being used for is this really clunky mechanism of holding educators accountable. Oh, we're going to look at child outcomes and we're going to do these things and school funding is going to be there. And if they don't meet the key performance indicators, the principal's going to get fired. And all this stuff was brought in. Because when you're a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. And what happens is you start bonking everything over the head and it just creates a bad situation all around. What could have been a positive structure in which data is used to actually drive improvement was not used that way. It was used as a hammer. So people in K-12 education and people in the education field more widely have this idea of data as the enemy. But it isn't the enemy. It's just a tool. Properly used, data offers an enormous amount of opportunity. When we talk about data quality, if we think about how data has been used in K-12, they're not using data that's telling them what they really wanted to know. So they're using low quality data, but they're making high impact decisions. And we're at garbage in, garbage out. It doesn't have to be that way, though. Data offers enormous opportunity, but we have to think about data differently than the way it's been traditionally used in K-12. And we are doing that in the Head Start world. Head Start is changing its culture around data. And we're going to avoid making everything look like a nail in the process. It's not going to be a hierarchy. It's not going to be the folks at the top say this, and if you don't hit your key performance indicators, the universe is going to end. None of that is what's happening. Head Start is bringing the quality improvement framework into play, where we are going to use data to improve our programs. So one of the biggest things then that we want to think about is we want to make sure that we're getting past this really problematic use of data in K-12 and using a culture that allows us, or building a culture that allows us to use data more effectively. And here's the problem. Cultural shifts take time. You don't impose a set of rules, have a pre-service training, and wow, everybody's great. Nope, it doesn't work that way. You've got to be realistic about this. Building capacity takes time. You have to start where you are as an individual and as an organization. Training is going to take time. 1 hour-long pre-service training, or even an all-day pre-service training on data literacy isn't going to do it. You have to actually put that into practice. You have to see data in meetings. You have to have tools that let you use the data when you're talking to parents. All these kind of things have to be developed, and they need to be developed in a way that's collaborative and inclusive. And all of that requires data literacy, data capacity, a culture around the use of data. And it's going to take time to build that. Head Start's changing the culture. It's going to take sustained effort over time. There's no magic solution. Even this course, which I think is pretty good at imparting ideas, it's one piece of a puzzle. You're going to want to take the ideas you see here and the examples that you're going to see later back to your program and put them into practice. And you'll find that it takes a lot of work to make them and do the things you want them to do in practice. You have to put all these things together. Things are also still changing. The Office of Head Start, all the top folks, they're shifting and moving as they learn. You are changing in how you're doing things in your program, and they're changing things at the top because it's a learning process. Also, you have outside pressure. Government is trying to figure out how to use data more effectively, how to get out of the compliance trap and move to a quality improvement world. And government as a whole is making that effort, but government's trying to do it for everything, which is even harder because you have lots of different kinds of departments. The Office of Head Start and the Department of Energy are two very different kinds of organizations. But it's all going to be okay. Probably. I say probably because we do know that this has been done before. In the for-profit sector, in the 80s and 90s, quality became a really big deal. I can remember my first job out of college getting just hammered over the head with the vital importance of quality and how there were so many efforts being made to improve quality in what was already a high-quality company. And this was a huge deal. It also took a long time to do. The Office of Head Start knows that it's going to take time because they've seen the prior examples. It can take closer to 10 years than to 10 months to really make the transition. And it doesn't stop. You continue to apply what you've learned over time. And the whole government is moving in this direction. So it's going to be okay. People know it's going to take time, and you can do this. Start with reasonable expectations and know that you don't have to be perfect. And you especially don't have to be perfect on day one after your training. Know where you are, identify where you personally, for your own professional and personal development, but also where your organization is, and have a good sense of that. Contribute as best you can. Realistic expectations are key because it's going to take a while to make that cultural shift. So the barriers are definitely there. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. And also, if you're sitting in this course watching this video, you're going to be part of a team that's doing it, and know that collectively you'll be working in that direction over time.